All right, guys, what's up? I'm here with my boy Bryce Miller Booker B. You guys know him from the Lilith Loop video I did. He got it was top 20 for
It's
your
top, yeah. So I made the top 32,
yes, top
with
32.
20th place, which is right outside of top 16.
Yeah. So my boy Bryce, he's been playing Lilith Loop pretty much all format. He's basically unstoppable when he plays this deck. But he's been in the lab cooking up his BT7 Lilith Loop deck, and he's of the opinion that this is going to be the best deck of the format, at least until Eismon gets limited. And after talking to him and thinking about it a lot, I'm inclined to agree. So I'm gonna have Bryce kind of take it away, talk about his deck, and then you guys, I'm sure, will be of the same opinion at the end of the video as well. Right, Bryce?
Yes, but I will add the addendum that if the structure decks come out this format, this deck gets hosed by Imperial. But
Yeah, fair. All right, so you want to start off with start off from level 2 and then go up?
okay, yeah. So the philosophy behind the deck is very different from last format. Last format I was playing the Sunamon. This time we're back in the Demimera. The reason is last format you wanted your stacks to live and kind of get value from those stacks. This format you want your stacks to die because Eismon is good.
Right.
So we're gonna start. We got 4 Demimera. Draw 1, discard 1 on deletion. Best inheritable you can have for this deck. Don't want to play more. You're not grinding with 12 rookies.
Yes. So we're moving away from the Sunamon that people were playing in BT6. Okay, gotcha. All right.
So I like to have 12 rookies. I want to push 13, but space is tight, and this deck has other cards to start your plays, so you don't need more than 12. So I like to have a certain amount of starting cards in your deck. The starting cards would be your rookies. It's going to be the Eismon scattered mode, and it's going to be the analog youth. So that's enough consistency tools to just let me play the game, even if I don't draw my rookies.
Gotcha.
But here's the 12. It's 4 Gabumon. That's the best inheritable with Eismon. Facilitates the drawing and discarding that you want to do with the card. Tapermon is like one of my backup rookies. It's just if you don't draw the Eismon, once you still draw and dig through your deck. Gazimon, just general good card, good against the mirror, good against any deck that gains memory whenever you play memory boosts.
Yes.
Sunamon is like your mid to late game rookie when you've already kind of got Gabumon cycling. Sometimes you play it early because it's the only rookie you have, but preferably it's the one you play once you have already started digging through your deck.
Gotcha. And then this is just when destroyed, get +1 memory inheritable. So I assume the combo is with scatter mode, and then you just...
It's everything is a scatter mode.
Yeah.
Purple, this format is just scatter mode plus Eismon, and build 42 cards around those 2 cards because they're insane.
For sure.
We are choosing the Lilith engine because it has the best top end, but you could try... There's probably like an aggro version, a more like pure control version. Just play those 8 cards in your purple deck.
Awesome. All right, and then for your level 4s...
well, we're going to start with the ones I've already talked about. We play 4 Scattered Bow. We play 4 Eismon. These cards are nuts.
Yeah, we want to talk about the shenanigans you can do with these cards because these cards are nuts.
Yes. So there's a lot. So essentially, Eismon Scattered Mode, it reads on deletion, draw 3, trash 2, and then Eismon Plane. It reads if you have Eismon Scattered Mode in your trash already when you discard this card, play it for free. So you might notice I don't have as big of like a Ginkaku package or Rush package. That's because now the deck has less top end, and by trading out for a way better mid game, you're able to play way more aggressively. The Eismons will try and swing security. If they don't die, it sucks, but you still have done damage, and they have to deal with it. And then when they deal with it, you try to just spawn a bunch of Eismons, so you get damage, and then also make sometimes more bodies than you started with.
Yeah, it's just like an insane floater package that also draws you a shitload of cards. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, when you get the ideal stack of Gabumon plus Eismon plus Demimera, you dig 6 cards in your deck and discard 4 cards from your hand.
Yeah.
So you trigger those things all the time. All the things that require you to discard, you trigger them all the time.
Yeah, that's so crazy. All right. Jesus.
The other level 4s, I'm playing 2 Ginkakumon and 1 Ginkaku Promote. The Ginkakumon it's 4 cost to play, so another consistency booster. But also, I realized that because we're kind of out of the Ginkaku package overall, we have less ways to deal with memory blockers.
Yes.
So I want to I tried to adjust my build to add in more things to kill memory blockers. I was playing just full Cerberus, which we'll get to in a second, but I also put in stuff in that level as well. just to deal with memory blocks. I realized it was much bigger of a problem this format than it was last format.
Right.
Because last format we had 4 Lady Devi and the Ginkaku package.
Yeah, so just to reiterate for you guys, the Kinkakumon Inheritable is when attacking, you can trash a card in your hand to delete one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon. So that goes back to what Bryce is saying, is that this helps you take care of Gazimons, Madoki Betamons, what else is there? Terriermon. So all those cards get deleted by this effect, and you can also trash a card, aka get off an Izemon if you have a scatter mode in your trash. So it's a pretty good card, I think, and I'm sure you're inclined to agree since you're playing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the one promote, it gives us a rush target, and then sometimes you get the added consistency of your deck where you can Digivolve over level 4. Yeah. I would love to play more of this card, but we need to fit in Izemons, and Izemons take up 8 of our level 4 slots.
Yeah, alright. Fair enough.
There is a small argument, I've seen people do it, where you play 3 of the discard Izemon, the one that plays itself, because you can recur it, but we're testing 8 from the start.
Alright, yeah, I think that's fair, because that's the one that's going to get limited as well, right? So
yeah,
might as well play the broken card while you can play it at 4.
Yeah. But I understand why you can play 3, because you can bring it back to your hand in a lot of ways. And we'll get to that in the future.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to move on to level 5s?
Level 5s, we play 2 Lady Devimon. This is my newest inclusion in testing. Just another way to draw cards, and also another way to try and kill rookies. I'm playing it more for the inheritable of this format than I'm playing it for the on Digivolve effect. Even though the on Digivolve effect is still really, really good. It's Graceful Charity, draw 2 plus the 1 from Digimon, so draw 3, discard 2, which also triggers your Izemons. But and then inheritable, when you play any option, delete one of your opponent's level 3s.
Right. So this goes back to what you're saying of the level 3 hate with this and the Kinkakumon, and I'm sure we've all been on the receiving end of the Lady Devi inheritable kills your memory blocker when they play a Jack Raid, and it doesn't matter. So
yeah, well. Yeah. It was most important when you played the Fusion, because when you played Fusion, you got to choose, I don't need to gain memory with Lilith yet. I use my kill first, and then I gain memory. So your card did nothing, except for my 1 removal.
Yeah, fair enough.
That I get for free anyway.
Yeah, that shit always felt bad. But yeah, this card is good. All right, and then let's talk about the newest inclusion, the Cerberusmons. You want to explain how this works?
Originally I was playing 4 and 4, but I made room for the Lady Devis. These are way more facilitated by the Izemon package. They work way better. They weren't good last format, because last format you're just trying to turbo into Lilith, but they work really, really well with the Izemon package. So 1, you can Digivolve it over the free Izemons you get, and 2, the effect of this Cerberusmon when it dies to draw 2 and discard 1 allows you to possibly play more Izemons from your hand for free.
Gotcha.
So you get to go into your level 5 and then play more board and expand your board on top of already playing the game. So your deck now has a lot more mid-game, which is something Lilith didn't really have in the other formats. Last time you were just trying to get to your combo and that's it. Now you actually don't need the combo to win. You can kind of just pressure with spawning a bunch of Izemons, spawning a bunch of wolves, and just hitting them with those cards.
Jesus Christ.
So if you don't know what the cards do, that Cerberusmon is draw 2, discard 1 on deletion, and this one has rush, and then on play, delete the other one, and basically refund its entire memory cost.
Yeah, yeah. So,
but it does get stopped by memory blockers.
Yes,
so
I was about to say
that's one of the reasons why memory blockers are a little better against the deck right now.
And therefore, your inclusion of Lady Devi and Kinkakumon. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Level 6s. First, before we get to the Lilith, let's go to the other card. This other card is actually not a level 6. This card says discard me.
Yeah, the native bug.
It has an effect on discard delete a level 4. That is very, very situational. That might come up sometimes. We really play it because when you discard it, you gain another memory, and this deck loves getting more memory.
Yes.
So it's basically extra Jack Raids for discarding cards.
Yeah. So the when Digivolve effect
a ton of ways to discard it for
the when Digivolve effect you're saying is like whatever to just delete a level 4. Like it's fine, but it's not like the best.
It's not why we're playing it.
Yeah, and it's only 11,000 DP, so you don't really want to be digivolving into this unless you have to. But when discarding gain a memory, that sounds insane for this type of deck for sure.
And if you notice, Izemon's discarding cards, Goblinmon's discarding cards, Mara's discarding cards.
Yeah.
The Cerberus package is discarding cards, the Lady Devi's discarding cards. There's a bunch of ways to just trigger more memory from our stacks.
Gotcha. All right, and then Lilith, we all know what this card does by now, I'm sure.
Yep. Yeah. When digivolving, if you have 10 or more cards in trash, return 2 purple options from your hand, and then once returned, gain 2 memory when you play an option.
Yes, sir.
It lets you just gain a ton of memory to do really, really powerful combos that are enabled by really strong cards.
Yes, aka Zwart. So Zwart's pretty much like the card that lets the combo go off.
Yes, I cut Zwart down to 2 this format instead of 3 because 1, the combo is less necessary, and 2, we no longer have the brand card, the Mega Digimon Fusion, which I would still play at 1 of if I had 1 of it.
Yeah.
It is that powerful, but we don't have that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I will touch on this when we get to win rate, but it is the deck is very different without Mega Digimon Fusion.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then we have 3 Jack raids. I think that's pretty standard. I don't.
Yeah, it was 4 last build, but we cut it down because there's more space I need to fit for other things.
Gotcha. And then this is a new card. It's in Japanese, but we can read it here. Yeah.
Calling from Darkness, or Call from Darkness, whatever they're gonna name it in English. This card is actually insane because of the Eismon engine, but it is insane.
Yeah.
You delete one of your any of your Digimon to add 2 purple Digimon from your trash to hand. So maybe it's like there are other ways to recur stuff to your hand, but what makes this insane is Eismon Scatter Mode specifically. Eismon Scatter Mode could swing, not die, but then you could trigger it anyway. And when you trigger it anyway, you could add, if you wanted to, 2 Eismons to your hand.
Yep.
To kill the Scatter Mode, draw 3, and then just discard those Eismons back to play them back onto the field.
Yeah.
So for 1 memory, you play 2 cards onto the field.
Yeah, 1 memory, you play 2 cards on the field, and you draw 3, discard 2. It's so nuts. This card's so cracked.
You don't. The only reason you have 2 is because yes, deleting stuff is a little situational. You don't always have Scatter Mode, and you don't always have the Eismon normal to discard with it. Sometimes you have to discard other things, but that's also why we play the Nidhogg bonds. But it also allows a lot of utility in general. Sometimes I'm not just going pure Scatter Mode. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I need my rookie for next turn, or I need my Godzimon to slow down my other enemy's memory deck, or I'm grabbing my Kinkakumons to delete a rookie in the future. It's a lot of utility on top of the fact that it's just pure powerful.
Yeah.
With the Eismon specifically. Yeah. It's a little less good if you don't spawn a free body off of it, but the fact that you spawn a free body of it makes it nuts.
Yes. This card's absolutely cracked, I think. This is probably like the best outside of Eismon package, this is like the best card Purple got, I think. It's so crazy.
It's really good with the Eismon package. It's and then 1 Deathclaw. This is something I haven't really tested a ton yet, but just wanted more level 3 hate specifically. Not even blocker yet. I just want to kill those memory chokers. Memory chokers suck. my level 5s don't work if memory chokers are on the field, which make them a lot weaker.
True, yeah. I remember, this is kind of an anecdote, but one time in a tournament, I had a Terriermon out, and this guy tried to werewolf mode me, and he just passed me over 9 memory.
I think I watched that happen.
You remember that?
He was playing like Plutomon or something.
Yeah, you remember that? That was so funny. Oof, that was a big oofa moment for him.
He's like, well, this game's over then.
Yeah. Okay. Win rate. It's.
This card is bad Mega Digimon Fusion. The upside of this card is actually still a drawback compared to Mega Digimon Fusion.
Yeah, in this deck specifically, but I'm sure you'll talk about it.
So what this card allows you to do is the one benefit is you don't have to have a white option, but the white tamer to play it. But the white tamer we play is still good for the deck, so that doesn't really matter. It's 2 memory. Reduce the next time you Digivolve this card. Digivolve this turn. Trash a card in the same color you're Digivolving from, not Digivolving into. So you don't have to discard a white card, luckily. But what you're Digivolving from, you discard the same color to reduce the next cost by 4. This card is solid. It's decent with the Zwart. It lets us go for our combo now, but it's so much worse than Mega Digimon Fusion for multiple reasons. 1, it costs 2 memory and doesn't reduce it by the entire cost. So to make our Zwart play, we need 4 memory from something, which means we have to have a Lilith set up already and have 2 memory so that our Lilith refunds us 2 memory, and then we play the extra 2 memory for Zwart. It does have the slight benefit of discarding cards, which means more Eismons if we have them. But the real thing that's supposed to be the quote-unquote like benefit of this card, which is that the creature sticks around, is actually a drawback, because that means we actually are afraid of decking out in this deck now. We weren't afraid of that before, and that was actually how I won a lot of games, is I'd go for my combo when I'm decking out, but the Mega Digimon Fusion just buys me another turn to kill them the next turn. I don't have that luxury anymore.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, the deck out rule in Digimon is that you only lose by deck out if for the start of your turn, you can't draw the card. So even if your like other effects say that you have to draw cards, but you can't because you have no deck, that doesn't make you lose. You only lose at the start of your turn when you have to draw for turn and you don't have a card to draw. But because Mega Digimon Fusion, at the end of your turn, puts the Zwart back to the bottom of your deck, it essentially buys you another turn to draw that Zwart and then probably use it again because you already had like this huge board set up from looping. So it was actually like the intended drawback of Fusion was not a drawback at all for Lilith Loop. It was actually like a feature, not a bug. So
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So this card is just infinitely worse, but we play it because we want to have the potential combo. Something that is nice though about this card is it does let us digivolve into our level 5s and 6s for cheaper memory, which does come up actually.
Okay.
It's just significantly worse. Still.
Fair enough. And then one Matt Ishida. I don't think we have to talk about that one, but we'll talk about the 3 analog youths because
I will say Matt Ishida is a new addition in that I was trying 4 analog youths before.
Okay.
But like I said, need to stop memory blogger, so I needed more memory.
Gotcha.
So I've just tried. We're trying the 1 right now.
Yeah, and you don't have to play. You don't have to play. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, this deck is still definitely a work in progress. We still at the very beginning of the format. Format hasn't started for us. Just been testing on like tabletop and theory crafting, so there's still a lot to work with. And we'll go into some of the other cards that I was messing around or thinking about after this.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was just gonna say we don't have to play Manoa anymore since you don't have to play Fusion. So yeah,
White Memory Tamer for no other reason than White Memory Tamer.
Yeah, Matt still really doesn't do much, but
but it has at least a effect. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Okay, and then analog.
So the great thing about this deck is we get to use every single effect of Analog Youth.
Yeah.
The Cerberus package enables this card a lot. So as long as you can digivolve the other Cerberusmon onto an Eismon, you can, when you trigger the werewolf mode, you're allowed to trigger the gain memory hatch effect. On top of the fact that when you search your milling, which fuels your trash for Jack Raid, on top of the fact that it adds consistency in your deck to look for your cards. It does everything for this deck, which is why I was originally trying it at 4. But the 2 things is 1, I still want a Memory Tamer, so I put the Memory Tamer back in. And 2, because we no longer have Mega Digimon Fusion, Deck Out is also an option, so this might get cut for that, but because there is an actual chance of drawing too much with this deck. You draw a lot. That the whole deck wants to draw through its pieces so it can do crazy things.
Yeah.
But it is a very, very, very good card still. Doesn't change that.
Yes. So that's pretty much the deck. And real quick, I just want to touch on that. Like the reason me and you feel like this is probably going to be the best deck in BT7 format is number 1, no Ice Wall. And I remember when I would play against you with Gabumon, like you would cringe, like you hated whenever I played Ice Wall.
Getting chained. Yeah. So Ice Wall isn't bad as a 1 card.
Yeah.
It's bad when it's chained. That's why it's limited to 1.
Yeah.
It is actually kind of a fair card at 1 because they have to strategically use it. Where when before that you just choke them at 1 with Ice Wall, and then you choke them at 1 with Ice Wall, and then you choke them at 1 Ice Wall, and the game is over because your opponent can attack for 3 turns unless they're exactly Lilith Loop, which can gain so much memory that doesn't matter, but it's still a problem for the deck, even with that.
Yep. And I will say that the other big benefit is that even though Mega Digimon Fusion ban is quote-unquote a bad thing for this deck, I think it's also a good thing because it removes kind of the yellow hybrid being able to kill you randomly out of nowhere. And yellow hybrid is now a very slow deck, and this deck eats slow decks alive.
This deck eats slow decks.
Yeah.
And I say... this format is likely, with maybe a couple exceptions, likely slower than last format. But the reason it's slower is because it's harder to interact with their opponents. And this deck doesn't care that much about interacting with the opponent's cards. It wants to just make you interact with them by developing really powerful boards really quickly and really efficiently compared to other decks with like the Loop combo and the Eismons.
Yep.
So it does hurt that we lose Mega Fusion, but it's definitely better than getting 1 shot from no memory from Suzanomon.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe Red Hybrids is a good deck to look out for.
Yeah, Red Hybrid's probably going to be the worst matchup for this deck, or the green deck with Red Tech.
Yeah. For
any deck that just beats face really hard, this deck's always had a problem with those kind of decks. Excuse me.
But I think just in general, especially, just real quick aside, I don't want to talk about this too much because it's not an official rule yet. If we get Mulligan introduced like for real as like a legit strategy, I think this deck goes tier 0. Like it's
we were talking about this. So we'll talk about it in just a second. But
Yeah.
yeah, mulligan rule. Obviously, mulligan's good for a lot of decks, but any deck that has cards that are like way above the curve, mulligan is kind of not good for the game if those decks exist. And this is one of those decks that has that kind of card in Eismon Scoured mode plus Eismon. So,
Yep.
and the other deck would be like Jessmon.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we'll just touch on that real quick. And then I want to move on real quick to just like some tech choices, like other cards people could consider playing. Maybe things that are good, but you didn't quite make the cut for your deck. Like, what do you want to
I'll talk about that. One last thing I'll mention is if you notice, I'm playing 3 Lilith, not 4. And most of that is because, one, we have a ton of drawing from the Eismon engine, but also we have a lot more mid-game with the Eismon engine. So we're not as dependent on our boss and our combo.
Fair enough.
So that's why it's 3 instead of 4.
Fair enough. All right, so techs. Okay, so real quick, the first card I actually want to ask you about is Purple Mimi. This is the card that I've asked you about before, and I think just in general can be a good idea. So I'll search it up for you guys real quick here.
Yeah.
Mimi. All right, so this card is all turns, keyword all turns. When a player uses an option card, you may suspend this tamer to gain 1 memory. So benefits would be if you have 2 Mimis on your board, you can make your win rates cost 0. Against blue decks, you can force them to pay a memory for Hammer Spark. You can force people to pay 2 to 3 memory for Atomic Inferno or Delicate Plan, or like any other low cost option you essentially punish with Mimi while also buffing yourself. So do you want to explain like maybe could be a good option, or maybe why you chose not to play it?
So I do think this card's actually a really good option. It's just the problem isn't the card itself, it's what you have to cut for the card. You're already kind of tight on your rookies, you're already kind of tight on your champions. You're playing, and your tamers add more consistency to your deck. So the things you're cutting are either options or tamers likely. So, and the tamer, like I said, you have to cut like consistency for this tamer that might be better overall once you get it established, but it cuts into your consistency. So
fair enough.
That's the biggest reason. It's not the card itself is bad. The card is really good. I'm thinking about it and might test it out in the future.
So essentially, this would be like competing for a spot with like Analog Youth, and Analog Youth, like it's just so consistent.
Analog Youth, which is really good for the deck, and maybe the mat. So, but you'd want to play this in multiple copies, so it'd have to take other things. Like it's not good at one; it's good when you can start chaining them together.
Right. Okay, so that's just like the one card I wanted to highlight, but we can go on. Like you have a list, I think, of texts that you want to go through.
Yeah. Another one is another level 5 option is Rebellimon.
Oh, yes.
We played this last format. This one is meta specific, I would say. It's very good against certain matchups, and you don't need it against other matchups. So the biggest matchup this card's really good against is Jessmon, because it walls them out. It means you get to buy time versus the deck that wants to one-shot kill you. And every turns with this deck are very important, because every turn you buy for your turn is more time you get to assemble pieces, establish your combo, and stuff like that. So it's more so that I'm not sure how the match is played. I want to try to test the full extent of the Eismon engine, or not Eismon engine plus Cerberus engine first, before I put in this tech choice. It's a matchup specific card.
Fair enough.
Next thing I want to talk about, kind of on the same line, is Vilemon, another blocker. My deck has like no defense right now. My defense is very weak, but blockers at level 4 are pretty weak this format, because there's a lot of things that can kill things that are like 5,000 or 6,000 or less. Emperor Greymon, if you block him, they just gain a bunch of memory, and blue can stun it permanently, so it doesn't even matter. So low-level blockers are a little weak, but I might have to put it in. It depends on how aggressive the meta turns out being.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was going to point out that you're not running any blockers at all.
Nope. Not at all right now, and it is kind of scary doing that, but we will see. My theory is that the Eismon engine should be so oppressive that they have to deal with this, and I don't have to worry about blocking.
Okay, fair enough. That makes sense.
The other thing is the full Ginkaku package. The biggest reason that I don't fit this is that we already have the Ginkaku in there. But yeah, the full Ginkaku package. Biggest reason we don't fit this is because we have to fit Eismons. They take up a lot of our level 4 slots. But if maybe side decking is the thing, this engine has stronger top end and weaker mid game. So if you need to play like against a slow deck, maybe the higher top end is better.
Okay, fair enough.
And then 4 more cards, I believe. So yeah.
Okay.
Another one is Ultimate Sacrifice. The biggest reason you play this card is the same reason that we played Underworld's Call last format, is that when you're comboing, it gives you an extra rush target. We don't have the Ginkaku package to gain us memory when we play that anymore. But now we could play, if we have the on deletion Cerberus mon up, Ultimate Sacrifice lets you play a level 5 purple Digimon and get its on play effect. So you'll play it and you'll get the werewolf mode, bring it out, the werewolf mode will proc, kill the other one. You essentially gain a memory, even though it costs 8.
Yeah.
You're still gaining 1 memory.
Yes.
And then also triggering the draw 2 discard 1 effect.
That's so funny.
So it's like a little extra burst, and with Lilith, you could recycle it if you need, if that's like the game plan you're going for. So that is definitely an option, but I took it out for more level 3 hate.
Gotcha.
Because this also would fall to the same problem, is the can't gain memory.
Right.
But that is definitely one of the things for higher top end. And then we have Elecmon, more level 3 hate, level 3 hate at a low end. Yep, exactly. Just kill more level 3s. Memory blockers stop us really hard, so this is something I'm thinking about as well. Labramon, just to help cycle our deck more.
Yeah, we all know what this one does. Yep.
Draw 1, discard on play. And the last tech I was thinking, this one's pretty self-explanatory, is this, if you want more draw on your plays instead of on deletion. And then the last card is Glaive Memory Boost for more recycling for later, and it's a memory card that lets us gain more memory that we could recycle with our Lilithmon if we need to. But it also lets recycle pieces of our package. But it might not make the cut just because we have better ways to recycle our pieces in Call from Darkness and Tamer that we kind of want to play. And Lilith herself.
Yeah. All right. All makes sense to me. All right. So there you have it, guys. Lilith Loop for BT7. Best deck of the format? ? We think so. Very likely. I have said it in the past, and many people say that Lilith Loop is like not quite tier 1 just because of how hard it is to play. But if you put in the hours, like the actual loop part isn't that hard. The hard part is like making the decisions when you don't just loop off. And if you practice the deck enough, like you'll be perfectly fine.
It's definitely building up to the big play. The big play has some complications when you have to when you're in like situations where you don't just kill your opponent. But that's not the hard part. The hard part is the micro decisions that lead you there, that will prevent you from dying before getting there, because you do lose to being aggroed out.
Yep.
Which is one of the reasons, obviously, we think is the best deck in this format, because it's probably good against the now slower blue hybrid and now slower yellow hybrid, which we think are going to be at least 2 of the top 5 decks, probably. Yep. So beating 2 of the best decks pretty handily, I think, is really good one-up for a deck.
Yep, and of course, if Mulligan and side deck become a thing, Mulligan is super good for this deck, and Purple has a lot of really good side deckable cards to throw in. So it's just going to make this deck even better. So just something to consider, or maybe if you're going to the DigiFest event, then they will have these rules in place, and then you can play Lilith Loop and style on people, and hopefully show people that Justmon isn't the only deck that's degenerate with those rules.
I will say this deck probably has... Loop in general has always had a bad red matchup, so if the red decks are better this format because of the slower format, or perceived slower format, then it will have some problems, but we'll have to see that pans out.
Alright, fair enough. Alright, so that was the deck profile. Thank you to my boy Bryce, and thank you to everyone for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Have a good one, guys.